Hello and welcome. I'm Rand Wise and coming to you almost live. And if you're feeling my vibe, please like and subscribe. So, my word for the day before I get started is if you hang out at a circus, you will become a clown. Just remember that. So, let's get into it. This story is called The Mysterious Neighbor. Forget every book you've ever read with drama, suspense, or dealing with relationships, dealing with friendships, dealing with anything you've ever read, because I'm about to take y'all on another type of journey. This story got so many twists, turns, surprises, and everything you can think of. I threw everything and the kitchen sink at y'all on this one, okay? But not for the sake of drama. All this drama is somehow connected and it is going to make sense. So, the plot of this story or synopsis or whatever is where this man in his mid 40s move into this neighborhood, suburban neighborhood, by the way, and there are four professional single women there that sort of around his age group, but all of them are a little younger than he is. Let that sink in for a minute. A handsome man who drives a nice ride moves into this nice home in a neighborhood, and there are four single professional women in that neighborhood. One is right next door, one is right across the street, one is down the street, and one is about maybe 4 doors down. Did it sink in yet? What do y'all think's going to happen? Okay. Here's the thing about such a story that I'm going to say, and I could tell y'all a story without giving away the plot. Here's the thing about this kind of story. Everything that you see ain't what you think it is. Did you think about that for a minute? Everything that you see ain't what you think it is. And these four women who happen to be friends and well acquainted with one another are about to find out. See, this is an irresistible type of thing, even if you're not looking for a man. You just don't know. You might not be looking. It just pops up and you go, whoa. And all of your girls is looking the same way. Whoa, who is that? So now, I know what you're thinking too. Is this going to have any kind of impact in a negative sense on their friendship? You have to wait and see. So I introduce to you and present to you part one. Now there are 8 parts. Part 1 of 8 of The Mysterious Neighbor. And I want y'all to enjoy it. And do not forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And please tell me what you think in the bottom. I write these bomb stories, and most people that watch them don't tell me, please leave a comment. Even if you don't like it, even if somebody is pissing you off, I don't care, because there's a couple of characters in here that be pissing me off. And I'm going to say this on that note. Nobody, I mean, there is not one character in this story that is perfect. Well, nobody is. But everybody in this story got some stuff. I'm just saying, I didn't let up off the gas with the drama on this one. However, you still enjoy it. And it's not just for the shock value. It all connects. All right. So, with that said, enjoy. And I will see you on the other side of part 8, at the end of part 8. You won't see me again until you see me say like and subscribe with each episode. All right. I want y'all to enjoy it, okay? Bye-bye. Chapter 1, Austina McCrae. Austina, how many times I gotta tell you I can't give you money every time you ask for it? William bellowed at me on the other end of the phone. William is the father of my 12-year-old son, Will, Jr., and my 9-year-old son, Chris. We had been together for a couple of years before Will Jr. was born, and we were almost married right after my youngest son was born until we broke up. We got back together when my youngest was 5 and vowed to try and work it out until he ran off with a 21-year-old college student. William and I are both 41 now, so you can imagine how devastating it was knowing that someone at least 15 years younger had captured him, leaving me to raise 2 boys alone. I should have seen it coming because he'd been complaining about everything, from my weight gain to me not being ambitious enough to get myself promoted to something more than a secretary on my job, to the house not being as clean as he thought it could be. I'm not a big girl, just a size 14, which is not that bad. He'd always made it sound like I was a size 25. And try keeping the house clean when you got kids that have football practice, band practice, all the other activities our boys participated in. After work, I found myself picking them up, dropping them off, or running them around on the weekends, trying to get everything done that I didn't have time to do during the week, while he sat on his butt and made no move to relieve me from all the things I had to handle. William, I'm not asking for anything more than what you owe these kids. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I bet you don't complain when you're taking that little gold digger out to dinner. That's none of your business, and you wonder why I never wanted to marry you. Never? Then you were lying all the time, William. Maybe I was. You never had any ambition, and you're gonna sit there and talk about someone else being a gold digger. His words trailed off when I looked out the kitchen window and noticed something across the street. I knew that 5-bedroom house had been sold, but look at who bought the thing. There was this brother who had to be at least 6 feet, and from what I could tell, he was handsome. I mean, turned me over his knee and spanked me type of handsome. He had a mustache, goatee, strong jawline, and dark, serious eyes. Oh my goodness. Woo. Are you listening to me? Oh, I snapped out of it. Mr. Mercedes-Benz across the street was now pulling out of the driveway and headed down the street. I watched that black luxury SUV make its way down the street and disappear around the corner. That man had to be married. Oh, yes, I heard you, William. I lied. Good. I'll be there around noon to get the boys then. I hung up. My heart was still reeling from the sight I had seen earlier. I stared at the house across the street. The blinds were pulled shut, except for what looked like the master bedroom right over the garage. I hurried upstairs into Chris's room. The boys were over my friend Vonnie's house, hanging with her boys. Although Vonnie's kids were a little older, they had lots in common. I opened my son's desk drawer. By the way, Chris was a kid that loved bird watching, collecting insects. He also loved playing the violin. Where are they? Where are they? I said, removing stuff out of the way before I found them. I pulled them out of the drawer. A feeling of victory sweeping through me. I tried to place the other items in the drawer the way I found them, or Chris would have a fit. I wiped down the lenses of the binoculars and smiled. I headed to my bedroom and put the binoculars up to my eyes and zoomed in on the window directly in front of me. If my girl Vonnie knew what I was doing, she would severely chastise me. I could see there was a tall chest of drawers that looked like it was near the door that led to the bedroom. The bathroom door was open, but I could not determine anything more than that. I was looking for clues to a woman in that house, but I couldn't tell much from the angle. I jumped when my phone rang, snapping me out of my mission. Hello? Astina? Bellowed Cindy's voice. She also lived in the neighborhood at the very end of the street. Yeah? What you doing? Oh, nothing, girl. Why does it sound like you are out of breath? Because I just ran up the stairs. Keep telling you that you need to hit the gym with me. I will, I promise. Now, Cindy was a fit size 8, very dark skinned and beautiful, reminded me of a famous African model, and she usually wore her hair in individual braids. She ate healthy, but I like to bake cakes and southern meals. Yeah. Anyway, anything new? No, I said. Why would I tell her that a handsome 40-something man just moved right across the street from me? She lived all the way on the other end, almost a block away. She would hurry up to my house if I told her that, although she was still dealing with Craig, her no-good bum-jive daughter's father. Okay. Want to go out Saturday night? Is William coming to get the boys? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he is. Let's go out then and see if Vonnie wants to join us. Okay, that would be cool. What about Suella? I don't know, Astina. That girl gets on my nerves. Oh, I hear you. No sooner than I hung up, Mr. Mercedes-Benz was returning. I wondered where he'd gone, that he was returning so soon. I imagine he went to pick up a bottle of fine wine. Maybe he was receiving company. Maybe his wife would be home soon. My heart picked up. I used my binoculars to watch him. I wanted to see what he would get out of the car with. That would give me a clue as to why he made such a short trip. To my disappointment, the garage door opened. The Mercedes slid in, parking right next to a metallic blue, very old model Mercedes, 2 doors, a 350XL I can see from where I was. The garage door slowly lowered. Dang, I couldn't believe it. Then I thought about what I was doing and wanted to kick myself for spying on someone. Chapter 2, Cindy Ross. I really did not need a reason to go up to Astina's house. I could have just gone up there, but I didn't. I wanted to know if she had seen that handsome man leave his house and get into a car that looked about as sexy as he did. Astina couldn't hold water, and I knew she would eventually tell me. But I wouldn't tell her if I spotted him, which I did. I was at the curb getting my mail when I spotted him up the street. One thing I had was good eyesight, especially when it came to spying lovely things like that. I was still on again, off again with Craig, my daughter Anita's father. She was 12 now, and it was time I moved on anyway. I didn't have any intentions of making Craig a long term, but it was better than being totally alone until I found something better. I teach 3rd grade at the same elementary school Anita attended when she was younger. I held a bachelor's degree owned a house, drove a 2-year-old BMW, and wasn't doing bad on my salary. I also sold skincare products on the side. Mom, can we get pizza tonight? My daughter bounced into the kitchen. What day is it, Anita? Thursday. Why? You know there is no junk eating during the week. Dang, you don't never like me to have no fun. Don't never like you to have no fun? I echoed. If that's the case, I do like you to have fun. Act like your mother is a teacher. See, that's what I mean. I gave this little girl a warning look. I couldn't wait to drop that little chick over at my mother's house Friday evening. She got on my nerves. My cell phone rang. By then, Anita had gone outside. Yeah, Craig. You busy this weekend? He asked me. I knew what the deal was. He wanted to get busy, but not this weekend. I was going out with the girls. Besides, my time with him had an expiration date on it that was quickly approaching, and depending on what I found out about my new neighbor, it may be even quicker. I'm going out with Austina this weekend, Craig. Is she doing all right? Yes. Why do you ask? Just asking. I kind of miss hanging out with y'all, you know. Yes, I know. There was a time when he and I would hang out with Austina and William and Vonnie and Sam when they were still married. But those days were over. As it stood, the four of us were now single. So, when can we get together again, Cindy? He asked me. Let me tell you something. Craig was nice, sometimes too nice, but he couldn't keep a job because every time he got one, he would fail the drug test. I kept telling this Bama that most places drug tested in his line of work, but he couldn't leave the weed alone. Although marijuana had been made legal in lots of places, we hadn't caught up in our state yet. Therefore, he wasn't doing much for me that I could not do for myself, but he had mastered other skills that were beneficial, and he was cool to hang out with for the most part. But I had long outgrown Craig. The problem was that there weren't many available brothers around, especially in Drayton County, where we live. The county was pretty much split between blacks and whites, and a few Latinos were moving into the area. Most of the white men were married to white women, and I would say that about half of the brothers in our county were also married to white women. What did that leave us with? I certainly wasn't going over to the hood in the next county to look for a man. I don't know, Craig. I answered this question. I'll let you know. Is my baby girl home? Yeah, would you like to speak with her? Yeah, but I'll call her cell phone. I let out a sigh once I hung up. If he had not mentioned Anita, I certainly was. He was beginning to get on my nerves, especially since my mind was on something else. I knew just what to do. Chapter 3, Vonnie Jones. I carefully pulled my 12-year-old Chevy Tahoe into the driveway. My son Sebby used the garage to park his car, so I used the driveway. It was after 10 at night. I sometimes wouldn't make it home until later, but I was thankful. I owned 2 hair salons and had 10 operators, 5 at each salon. I mostly supervised, but there were still some of my old clients who came to see me. I guess I wasn't doing too bad for myself after my divorce. My ex-husband tried to get his hands on my assets, but I outwitted him. I didn't get this far being stupid. The only thing he would get was half the proceeds from the home we shared. I took my half and bought a 4-bedroom. We had 2 sons. Is that you, Mom? Sebby called from the den once I entered the house. Sebby was 17 and Lemuel was 16. I imagined my youngest son would be in bed by now, but Sebby always waited up for me. Yes, Sebby, it's me. He joined me in the kitchen, wearing his eyeglasses and holding a textbook. He wanted to become a chemist. Where your contacts, Sebo? That was the name I usually said when I was playing around with him. His real name was Sebastian Otis Jones. My eyes will bother me. I think it's the pollen, Mom. The pollen in our area was horrible in mid-spring. Okay, you can get some rest now, sweetie. I'm home. He kissed me on the cheek and headed upstairs. Once I was done in the kitchen, I headed up to my study and worked on some accounts for my shop. I used the spare room as my office. Before I turned on the light, I noticed the blinds were still open. I walked over to close them, and that's when I saw it. A man. A handsome man. Only less than 8 yards of grassy area separated my house from the house next door. I couldn't turn on the light, not right now. He was sitting in what I assumed was a guest room because it was positioned on the side of the house like my guest room. I saw him looking down as if he was reading something. His facial hair made him look strong, and he had a straight nose and full lips. I kept watching. He finally looked up at his computer. Then he raised a mug to his lips and took a sip. I saw him run his hand down his closely cut hair, holding a pencil in his left hand. Goodness, I didn't know I wasn't breathing at this point. My room was still dark. I knew if I turned on the light, he might notice me. I was enjoying the view too much for this to be disturbed. When did he move in? I wondered. It must have been when everyone was sleeping because he lived right next door to me. I wondered if the boys knew we had a next door neighbor. This development was only a decade old, and the previous owners were an older couple. The wife had died a couple of years ago, and the husband sold the home and moved to Texas. I saw him put a cell phone to his ear. Then I saw him smile. I couldn't help but to notice his dimples. He leaned back in his chair and looked like he was laughing. That had to be a woman he was talking to on the other end. Then he stood, walked over to the other side of the room out of view. He was wearing a pair of jeans and a black t-shirt. He had a flat stomach but broad chest, and I couldn't help but to notice his hands. Those were some pretty big mitts. Then I wondered who else on this street knew he was here. There were 12 houses on Jessup Lane, and at least 4 of them were owned by single women, including me. There were 2 young women who lived together at the very end of the street at the dead end, but nobody had to worry about them pushing up on this man because we all figured they were not into men. Besides, I would bet my business, home, and even my kids that this man was married. Had to be. He returned to where he was sitting, and he ended the phone call. I just could not disturb this scene yet. He got back to what he was doing, and I wondered, what was he doing? Was he reading? I could see a computer on the desk, but couldn't determine what was on it because it was not facing me. I could only see the side view. I just hope he wasn't looking at porn. But his expression didn't seem like that. It was as if he was concentrating on something very important. Mom, you okay? Sebby's voice startled me. I turned around. Oh, I'm fine, son. Why are you in the room in the dark, Mom? Then he turned on the light, potentially blowing my cover. Oh, I was praying. He looked amused. Really?
Yeah, really? Then he noticed the guy next door in the window. He looked at me again and he said,
Praying he's single?
I had to laugh. I couldn't help it. Okay, I'm busted. I was 44, and Seppi wanted me to find someone nice. Lemuel, my youngest, wasn't on that page though.
It's cool.
He said, then he added,
He is.
is? He is what?
Single?
You mean that guy? I pointed towards the window. He looked over my shoulder at the guy and said,
I'm pretty sure he is.
now, how in the world would you know that?
He's been here a week. I haven't seen any woman over there, and I haven't seen any men, so that might be a good sign.
I was tickled by my son's observation. Have you ever spoken to him, son?
No, for what?
Oh, just asking. I sneaked another look over my shoulder at my new neighbor. Whatever he was doing had fully captured his attention because it seemed he never even looked our way. Sebby walked over to the window and closed the blinds. Boy, why aren't you in bed?
That's not what you want to ask me, Ma. Come on. But to answer the question you really wanted to ask, I closed the blinds because I don't want you to end up spooking that guy. He might think we spying on him.
I waved him off. Oh boy, ain't nobody spying on that man. He raised his eyebrows at me and gave me a knowing look as he left the room. I was finally able to do what I intended to do.
Chapter 4, Suella Mack. I love Fridays, not because it was the weekend for me. I was an editor for the Summit, our local newspaper. But I love Fridays because that's when some of the best stories happen. My job kept me busy. I have never been married, have no bread snatching kids either. Therefore, I could spend every dime on myself if I chose to. I moved on to Jessup Lane 2 years ago. I bought a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom home 2 doors down from my friend Bonnie, who was like a big sister to me. She was about 8 years older. I got my hair done at her shop. That's how we met. Bonnie has always been a good person to talk to. Not every house on Jessup Lane was made the same. There were 3 bedrooms, some were 4, and some were 5. The styles of the homes varied. The 4 bedrooms and 5 bedrooms had 2-car garages. Vonnie lived in a 4-bedroom, and that was the only 4-bedroom that had a single-car garage. I got my Sheltie Rickles ready for his walk. I've had him for 6 years now. He belonged to my ex-boyfriend, but I took him in when Aaron and I broke up. It was barely dawn when I stepped out and headed up the street. I was about to pass Vonnie's house when I saw the garage of the 5-bedroom next door to her open. I couldn't see anyone inside at first until I got closer. Lord, help me, I whispered to myself when I saw a tall man come out of the door that led into the house, open the trunk, and place a briefcase in the trunk. He was well dressed. Oh my goodness. My heart was about to jump out of my chest. He had to be in his 40s, but shoot, I was 36, and he was not too old. Heck, I would even take him at 55 if they looked that good. He closed the trunk,
got into the Mercedes SUV. I saw brake lights lit up and the SUV slowly backed out of the garage. I stood next to a tree that was right in front of Vonnie's house. I had to get another look at this man. To my disappointment, he had tinted windows. The garage closed and the car made its way down the street towards Cindy's house before making a left and disappearing. I continued walking Rickles while wondering when he moved in. I remember another car inside the garage and figured he must have a wife. Must have. Rickles handled his business, and when we made our way back home, I paid close attention to the house as I passed. I didn't see any lights on inside, no movement, no manifestations of anyone being home. As I passed, I looked at the side of the house near the tall wooden privacy fence, where I figured the kitchen must have been. That house was styled much like Vonnie's, with only a couple of exceptions. Like he had a two-car garage, she had a one-car garage. But there was no lights, no movement, no noise coming from that house. I headed back to my house. Austina had called me the day before and asked if I wanted to go out Saturday night. I figured I would. Cindy and I did not get along that well, but we were both friends of Austina's and Bonnie's. I used my lunch break to head over to Bonnie's downtown shop. When I entered, I was told by one of the operators that she was at the salon at the shopping center. That meant I had to go all the way across town. "Hey girl," Bonnie said when she spotted me. "My chair just happens to be available for you. You need a wash and press?" My hair was beyond my shoulders now. I normally wore weaves that Bonnie installed for me, but I'd been giving them weaves a break for a while. "I'm not here to get my hair done, Bonnie." "Then what are you doing here in the middle of the day at that?" "I gotta talk to you, girl." I pulled her to her office and shut the door. "Okay, did you know you had a new neighbor?" "Yeah, I found out last night." "Last night? When were you going to tell me?" "Because when I found out, it was almost 11 at night. I got home late last night. I saw some lights on in the house." "But have you seen what your neighbor looked like?" I needed all the details I could get from her. "Yeah, he's a man, probably in his 40s though." I fanned myself with my hand. From what I'd seen, he was finer than fine. "You know if he has a wife?" "Oh, child, I couldn't tell all that in 5 minutes." "Was he outside? I mean, how did you see him?" "He was in the house. The blinds were open." "So tell me more, Bonnie. What was he doing?" "Girl, I don't know. Sitting in the room, maybe watching TV or something. I don't know." "You live right next door to this man and couldn't tell what he was doing? Was there a woman in the house?" "I didn't see a woman, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have one." I detected a warning in her voice. Bonnie was cautious like that. She was the only one out of the 4 of us who had been married, and she had better discernment than the rest. Plus, she was the oldest. I had one more question for her before I opened that office door. There was a glass that had a clear view of the shop, and I knew some of them nosy operators were wondering what we were talking about. "So, do you think he might be gay?" "Honey, that possibility is always there, but I highly doubt it." That's all I needed to know, I told myself. "So, Vonnie, what are you doing for lunch?" "Nothing. My only client today is already gone. She left right before you got here." I treated her to lunch. Afterwards, I headed back to my office at the station.